Happy to be joined once again with the CEO of HempFusion, Dr. Jason Mitchell joins us again. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Chad. How are you?
Excellent. Can't believe we're already into the month of March, but the year keeps progressing. And again, we continue to watch this company closely. A lot of progress that's being made. The investor community continues to be in favor of this company. And, you know, we've had you on in the past and you've outlined what your narrative is. As this CBD industry gets more and more regulated, high level, high quality CBD that trades in the TSX. So want to start things off. I know it's been a challenging week or two within the market. However, it continues to be a great start of the year for your company specifically, with your shares trading 200% higher from your financing round. I guess the question I guess you want to communicate to your investors, how happy and how excited have you been with the start of going public less than 60 days ago?
You know, to be honest, I'm watching it and watching the faith that people have in us and the direction, and that them, I guess, taking a deeper understanding in us and learning about us and being in favor of us has been quite special. You know, it's rewarding in a lot of respects because we know how hard we've worked and we know how much we've invested time, resources, and capital into completing and doing the things that we're doing. So we couldn't be more encouraged.
Yeah,
so we're very excited about the next steps.
Well, one of the things I'm learning about you and the company, and I think a lot of investors are starting to understand too, as this industry becomes more and more regulated, there's no shortcut to success. You obviously have to have the right contacts, which your team has built indeed, but it's doing it the proper way, which is necessary, especially after what's happened in this industry over the last couple of years. How are you progressing into the vision that you're building out? Are you still on course, and are you excited, obviously, to see the developments that the company continues to achieve on a day in and day out basis?
Absolutely. So we continue to move forward with our progression as it relates to building out our regulatory portfolio, which actually is the proper regulated path forward, not only in the US market, but international markets as well. And so as it relates to expanding relationships within the retail community and having success within these retailers, expanding our interest into e-commerce platforms, not only domestic, but abroad, is working. And we are moving in the right direction there. And we remain very, very optimistic about the results these things will bring. And we are investing very heavily in there, as we indicated in the very beginning. This is our direction and we are committed to it.
Your distribution channel is a big one. I know one of the smaller revenue models last year for you was the e-commerce level, and that was going to be a primary goal. How is that fitted, I guess, into the overall picture as we're heading into the third month of the year?
Absolutely. So if you were to really truly evaluate our company, only about 4 to 5% of our business is online at the present time when you look at the total enterprise. However, our investment into e-commerce platforms, direct to consumer, and so on is already paying dividends. And I can give some highlights that have already been public and aware to most, is that with our Probulin line, which is our probiotic company as part of our family of companies, we started an effort almost a year ago building out a proper structure and focus on Amazon. And we launched it officially right about the middle end of November into December.
Okay.
And if you were to compare that to sales in September, we've done quite well at growing the sales, and we've kept the return on advertising spend, otherwise known as ROAS, very high. In fact, we ended January with a ROAS of about $5.50, and I think February is about similar. Means we're not having to spend a tremendous amount to get exponential growth in our products on Amazon. All of this A/B testing is leading to the ultimate goal that will then flush out how we progressively move forward, where we spend, how we spend, but we're doing it wisely and very capitally efficient. Now, as it relates to direct to consumer from our hosted websites, such as HempFusion and Probulin, this digital team has spent a tremendous amount of work in past months building out the infrastructure of websites that can truly handle a lot of traffic, then doing A/B testing to see if we can drive the traffic. Now we're zeroing in on the efficiencies in and around conversion, but all the while, we're still increasing our sales for direct to consumer, which is really spectacular.
That's great. What are some of your bigger markets right now?
Well, I mean, the biggest market for us right now still remains to be the natural products industry, and it is for most people, right? And I will tell you that other than that, it is currently industry-wide the digital marketing space, meaning online or these digital platforms. However, the food, drug, and mass area, we know from a retail bricks and mortar perspective, is a huge opportunity. And we have been working extremely hard. In fact, a top 5 food, drug, and mass grocery retailer, we launched a test last year. This is information that we've spoke on before. And it was a test in about 79 stores. If we were to fast forward to the expansion into the 800 stores, simply because we tested out very well, they started with about 30 brands and about 85 products. They cut it down to about 15 brands and about 45 products. And then they expanded into about 800 stores. Well, what's interesting is that we got the data and everything back from our first kind of full 60 days into that progress and expansion. And if you were to remove a low dollar item like a lip balm that was only a couple of bucks at a buy one, get one free,
Yeah,
we are the #1 in revenue and the #1 in units sold in this particular top 5 food, drug, and mass retailer here in the US.
that's
And so
incredible.
more information will be coming out about that later, but it's very exciting that we focused in to verify how does it work? How do we make sure that what we're messaging, what the pricing, what the product mix should
Right.
be? And we found that we have the right products, the right price with the right messaging because clearly it's working.
Well, some of the like maybe provide me an example or two. Like, what's one area, let's say, your product's available, like, in a certain state compared to another, and based on the data, what are the things that you hear about one place likes versus say the other, and how do you obviously capitalize off of that?
So if you were to look at just data specific and go to, let's say, the Gallup poll in 2019 that said about 14% of Americans were using a CBD product. Then you fast forward to some newer data in 2020, and you have about a third of the people that are using, CBD products and so
Has it
forth.
grown that much? Wow.
Yeah, it's grown quite significantly. And again, this is all based on the data that's being collected. Now, I can't obviously validate the quality of the data, but I respect it because these organizations are doing what I consider a very good job. People like Brightfield and so forth that are doing an amazing job at collecting largely unbiased material, just saying, listen, this is what the industry is saying. And when you look at this, the areas where people are primarily focused are areas of pain, stress, and sleep. That hasn't changed, and it's still in the same order. And so when you look at things like that, so we
Yeah, of
realize
course.
that people want products that address pain. So we actually went the whole route of creating an entire line of OTC drug listed products.
Yep.
And these OTC drug listed products are listed on the FDA drug registry and they have NDC numbers, they're national drug code numbers. Now, HempFusion means we take hemp, but we fuse it together with other ingredients because we believe that while hemp is the hero, it doesn't necessarily drive the ball in every situation, but it is a contributor in one way, shape, or form or another to really wonderful, great products, meaning that a consumer can get what they need and properly formulated. So we use qualified drug monographed ingredients to create over-the-counter drugs that can be used for different applications. The primary application is in pain. So we have a pain relief cream and balm. We have a sports pain relief cream and balm. We have a pain relief gel. And we even have another product under development right now that is in that pain category as well. And what's really amazing is that we also have eczema wound healing ointment, like a
Yep.
kind of like an antibiotic ointment that they apply when
Yep.
cuts or scrapes. And then we have eczema, acne, and so on. So anyway, these products were developed so that they message correctly with legally substantiated claims tied to legally substantiated ingredients. And
Hmm.
then creating a wonderful skin nourishing blend, which includes hemp-derived CBD, aloe vera, shea butter, and so many other wonderful ingredients. We do not use glycols, phthalates, parabens, all the things that consumers have said, we don't like those things in our topical products.
Hmm.
It's these products that are catching fire for us at the very moment. And that is because these products are very explicit in what they're marketed towards. Now, we all know that ingestible products are the real win. And we
Right.
know that exponentially they will be bigger as the prize, as that prize grows. But when you lack regulatory clarity, a lot of the bricks and mortar retailers, the industry leading e-commerce platforms, and even on your own website, it's harder to market those products at the moment. But as soon as that clarity becomes clear, that market is going to expand. And that's why we have spent so much time and effort in developing a regulatory portfolio that's second to nobody so that we can be one of those leaders that lead the charge from a
Yeah.
compliance standpoint, expanding ingestible products.
That's the difference between what's going on today versus, like, say, what's going on within this industry a couple years ago. We've talked about this in the past that some of your members of your advisory board are on the U.S. Hemp Roundtable. Maybe share with us a couple of hot topics that would be very beneficial for shareholders and investors to know. What are some discussions that are being created and what developments are going on behind the scenes that you could share that people would find very interesting?
Absolutely. So if you were to just break this down to what Everybody wants to know, well, what is the FDA going to say? What are the rules going to be, right? Well, what I would like to tell anybody, even if it's my competitors listening, if they want to gauge, don't expect that all of a sudden there will be a brand new set of rules for hemp-derived CBD. You're
Mm.
still going to have to comply with all the normal rules that are already in place for dietary supplements. The big question is, one, is it safe? So if you don't have toxicology studies completed to verify that what you're selling is safe, you're going to be at a bit of a disadvantage, not a bit, a huge disadvantage, because quite frankly, that takes a lot of time. It takes over 2 years to complete these toxicology studies. If you don't have a real world human observational application of safety, also, it could present some challenges. But one of the second things that I think is important to the FDA, and this has been, as part of these communications with the special working group, I should say the cross-agency special working group with CBD inside
Yep.
the FDA, is that one, is what's being sold a drug, which means an IND, investigative new drug type of scenario,
Yep.
or is it a new dietary ingredient designed for dietary supplements? So it's really this IND NDI discussion. And what's really interesting for us as a company, not only have we completed our toxicology studies, we've already commissioned our NDI submission, because that is most certainly going to be a required path, in my humble opinion. Now, and I can tell you the information that I've been given leads me to believe that that is going to be a required path. That means
Mm.
you have to have all of your data, you have to do the things necessary. Now, none of what I'm explaining is very sexy, but it should be to the people that want a long-term investment, because companies that are well prepared for this to happen so that you comply with the regulations allows you almost no door that you can access once this is clear.
Well, I
And
think
I would
that's
tell you, my guess is that it's only 3 to 6 months away from really having some clarity. That's my guess. I don't know that for sure, but that's my guess.
yeah, but I think Jason, like that's the whole reason why investors are so interested within this space and why they got involved, in this industry a couple years ago is that let's do things the right way because there's a tremendous opportunity not only in America but globally as well. Only to learn that, it was a lot of pump and dumps that took place, but now the necessary work that's being involved. And I think for those that do it the right way, yes, it's a little bit more longer term, but there's tremendous growth opportunities. When I started this interview, I talked about high quality. That's the way you want to build your narrative. Backing that up was an announcement that was made actually last month. You're going to be working with Dr. David Harnick, who's a prominent cardiologist and is an assistant professor of medicine with cardiology with Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, which is obviously a very prominent hospital. You were selected by Dr. Harnick as the exclusive brand and the sole supplier in a 6-month clinical trial to collect data to uncover deeper understanding of CBD has on the body. I got to ask you, like, this is a big announcement. What's it mean to you, one, as the sole supplier for this trial? And two, what's this say about your company?
Well, what I think is the most important takeaway is that Dr. Harnick is a prominent cardiologist, and in studying what CBD does on the body as well as cardiologic markers is important to him to have findings, but he doesn't want to put anything into a clinical study, especially a long-term trial like this with patients that of his through his cardiology practice, unless he could believe that what he's supplying was going to be safe. And so the fact that we have all this safety data means that we have passed a threshold that allows him to have a certain amount of confidence to say, I can move forward safely knowing that we are going to have some real data without the potential risks that could be associated with the unknown. And so that was a really big deal. What does it mean for me? Well, it means a lot because I think clarity on what CBD's effects are on the body are important. I think consumers want it. They're chomping at every bit to understand more, understanding more about levels used, how much, what are the potencies, things of that nature. And then for the medical community and the advancement of things related to how cannabis or cannabis derived ingredients or hemp derived ingredients like CBD and what effects they could have on specific cardiologic markers. Well, you know what? If that means that that is a future in medicine, then I want to participate wherever I can. Because I
Right.
think not only do we have to have clarity, but we have to have something that's meaningful, that people can really truly sink their teeth into and have a better, greater understanding of how it might benefit.
Hmm. Be interesting to see what you learned through that trial. That's for sure. This
Yeah.
week, you announced that you have submitted novel foods application in the UK's Regulatory Food Safety Agency. This is the first step in the regulatory approval process to allow products that contain CBD to be sold on store shelves, which is a big opportunity. So, first question, once you've submitted this, what's a reasonable timeline we can expect before HempFusion products, I guess, are available in the UK?
Well, the nice thing is we're already moving forward and advancing with products available in Ireland and the UK. So that's not changing. This regulatory step is for those companies that are there having a submitted application that has been validated. Validated means they've acknowledged receipt of the application and that they have reviewed, at least initially, that this is an acceptable application, meaning you have all the necessary tenets required within the application. You are then officially validated. What that validation step means, you can continue to sell on the shelves in the UK.
Hmm.
Now, why this is important is it's the
Yeah.
first step of a very crucial regulatory process that takes over a year to complete for final approval. But it's their line in the sand. And I give them a lot of credit because while it is still not as clear as it could be, I think from a governmental agency internationally, they're saying, we need to see this as the
Mhm.
first step to validate whether we are okay with you continuing to sell in our market. Because the UK has risen to be what I believe about 39%, and don't quote me on this, but I believe the last time I checked on the data, that the UK represents about 39% of the CBD sales in Europe as at large.
Wow.
And while I know they are not part of the European Union, they are still part of the European demographic, and they represent about 39% of the sales in front of Germany, which is next. And
Wow.
so this is an important area to be
Big market.
involved in. So this novel food application is important also that we submitted a complete application. That
When you,
means, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, when you say complete application, do you think it's being done enough over there right now? I sense that there's probably a chance that, a product could be, not approved down the road for some companies within that market, or is that, a fair assessment to say?
Well, we did get information even this morning in meetings with our regulatory agency that we work with in Europe, and they said that over 500 applications have been submitted since January, and that in large part there's a good number of them, actually possibly even a majority of them, that are being submitted without all of the tenets being covered, such as toxicology data. Some are using a submission as a placeholder to say, as long as I submitted early enough, at least I'll be validated. Well,
Oh,
what they're going to find is that the only thing that's really truly interesting to the FSA is that complete data. If
right.
you submit a folder that doesn't even have the tenets of toxicology studies being evaluated, or that there is any type of peer review data information, or that there's stability studies and things of that nature, that's what I'm nicknaming an empty folder, and what they are actually patently rejecting. From my understanding, they've already rejected applications. Now, I can't confirm this, but they've rejected applications that are lacking the bare tenets of what's required. They are completely or wholly deficient in the most important pieces of this. Now, we as a company submitted what we like to believe as a complete file. I mean, we've
Yeah.
literally addressed every single tenant to make sure, and we've already completed the data. We're not working on it. To be honest, I even had a company tell me, "Oh, we submitted our novel food. However, we only just started our tox data." And I'm like, "Oh man, well that takes 2 years." "Oh, I know. We're just going to tell them we're working on it." Well, I don't know how much that's going to benefit them because they could be patently rejected simply
So if they're
because they did not.
rejected products taken down off shelves, they resubmit. How long of a timeline is that? Because if you're a first mover advantage, it appears a 39% at the EU, like that's a tremendous opportunity for you.
Yeah, I can't say that we're a first mover advantage because there's already products of CBD on the shelf. And I'd like to believe that there's going to be at least a good group of people that have submitted a complete application, because
Yeah.
I believe that it can't be just a brand. It has to be a category for it to truly be successful.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And so by that virtue, more people will know about hemp and hemp derived CBD. But by drawing this line in the sand, you're creating a safety threshold where consumers now can have even more trust. Now, companies that are submitting empty folders, well, it could take 2 years because the toxicology data itself takes 2 years. Then you have to reapply.
Mhm.
And the process of applying to approval for validation, I mean, validation can take anywhere from 15 to 30 days. And the deadline is March 31st. And if you're not validated before March 31st, you may or may not have opportunities beyond that. However, I think the backlog is still going to open up a little beyond that. But that's
Yeah.
just my humble opinion.
long and strong with HempFusion. I appreciate the update, but sounds like things are progressing well. And again, keep up the great work and let's keep in touch.
Shad, it's awesome. Thank you so much, and I appreciate the time as always.
You're welcome. Speak to you soon.